And tonight on our Great American panel, he's worked at the Washington Post, serving as an editorial writer, op-ed columnist, White House correspondent, Fox News contributor, and author of the New York Times bestseller, Enough. Juan Williams is here, and he is a certified financial planner, author of the brand new book, The Buckets of Money Retirement Solution, the ultimate guide to income for life. By the way, I'll take some. Lucia is with us, and she is a radio talk show host. Mary Walter is back with us. Guys, good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
All right. Well, there's a little bit of fun going on this election season. Nothing was better than the New York gubernatorial debate. The rent is too high, too damn high. Watch this.
I represent the rent is too damn high party. People are working 8 hours a day and 40 hours a week and some a third job. Women can't afford to take care of their children, feed their children breakfast, lunch, and dinner. My main job is to provide a roof over your head, food on the table, and money in your pocket. This is politics as usual. Playing the silly game, but it's not going to happen. The rent too damn high movement, the people I'm here to represent can't afford to pay their rent. They're being laid off right now as I speak. They can't eat breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Listen, someone's stomach, child's stomach just growled. Did you hear it? Gotta listen like me.
Rent is too damn high. Guess what? Doesn't pay rent.
It's a pretty good gig if you can get it.
It really is.
You know, one of the things that we've got to get started in this country is we need to figure out how these people that aren't paying rent should be paying rent. Because think about it. I mean, we've got all these foreclosures. We've got all these programs going on right now to keep people in their houses, many of whom shouldn't be in the houses in the first place. And the programs have not worked.
You know, that is such a good point. And, you know, in New York, they have rent control, rent stabilization. And you know what? I'm sorry, Juan, the government has no right dictating what somebody will or will not pay for an apartment. You don't have to live in, you know, conveniently located Midtown Manhattan. You can live out on Long Island. You can live in New Jersey. You can live in Brooklyn. You can live in Staten Island. You know, do you support rent control?
Yeah. But first business first, let me just say, I loved the sartorial splendor of his mutton chops, and I'm thinking, what would you look like with this, you know? A little bit of that deputy dog look, you know what I'm talking about? I think you would look marvelous, my friend. You would look marvelous. But that would be you as more liberal. That would be a hip, younger Sean. Anyway, on to...
So you call me the fat old Sean.
No, hey. Anything among friends.
This is the last time you're on this program.
No, you can't kick me out. You can kick your wife out, not me. But here's the thing. You know what? You don't want people exploited. And so you want fair rents that allow the owner of the property to make a profit, but you don't want to exploit people. And in New York City, people get exploited.
Rent control. You know what rent control is? The government forcing owners of buildings and apartments to pay the rent of somebody else.
Yeah, how is this?
It's whatever happened to supply and demand dictating price, Juan. You don't believe in freedom.
Of course. Wait, what is this? You know me. Come on. Well, of course I believe in freedom. I don't believe in exploitation. Capitalism has to have some limits so that you don't hurt people.
The price is offered. You either pay it or you don't. But the government to say, well, you can only charge X number of dollars. Who are they to tell somebody that?
Because of exploitation. It's the same thing that we say. We don't. You know what? They can't charge you whatever they want.
Live somewhere you can afford to live.
That's a good principle. But this says that we're going to make sure that there is some subsidy. Right now, there's subsidies to make sure people have mixed-use housing.
But how
government has an interest in stable communities.
But Juan, how is he not exploiting the owner of the building who's not getting any money for that apartment?
Not getting any money.
$800 when the real market value is $3,000.
What I'm saying is,
why should that landlord have to pay the $2,200 so he can have the convenience of living where he wants?
Wait, I'm not understanding the point. We've got to get the government out of this stuff. Listen, we have this Making Homes Affordable deal, right? 1 million of these people, 2/3 of them after 60 days are in default anyway. So the government's got to stay out of our business, especially the capitalism business.
What we have, and I remember that President Bush had this, an ownership society, trying to encourage people to own homes because it develops more stable communities, and we want that.
This is what got us into the financial...
I agree, but I'm just saying, this was a Republican goal, so don't just say, oh, it's some liberal, crazy conspiracy, Sean.
Republicans were warning that Freddie and Fannie were going bankrupt. We've played the tape on this program. Wait a minute, but the whole premise was the Community Reinvestment Act, this notion that everybody in America should own a home, whether they can afford it or not. The government forces banks and financial institutions to lower their standards, and what a shock. People can't pay their mortgage anymore.
You're really wrong on this one. The government wanted to encourage people to own properties.
That's what Barney Frank said.
Let me just say, it wanted to encourage people to own properties, and I think it's a good goal. The mistake was made by the likes of Fannie and Freddie and the banks and Wall Street, who saw that they could make profit by giving mortgages to people who couldn't afford them. And the rating agencies are absolutely corrupt.
Juan, I love you, but you're wrong. Listen, on my radio show, a lady calls me one day. She made $49,000 a year. She bought 3 condominiums with no money down in Las Vegas. And then she called up saying, how can I get out of this? I'm going to lose all my money.
Yeah,
this is ridiculous.
She's crazy. That's one of those people flipping properties.
Well,
they should have no protection. Get them out of here.
But what makes me crazy is that there's people now who will go in and rent those properties, who can afford to pay the landlord what it's worth and give the landlord what he needs.
He would empower the government to force citizens to subsidize people they don't even know.
People, you know what? I hate to break it to you, but Republicans and Democrats already say we want to subsidize low and middle income people to live all over.
And we will continue. And we continue now with our Great American Panel. By the way, I got a great email from a friend of mine. Well, the title is Juan Williams is Clueless. Isn't Juan exploiting Fox? Anyone who pays him, if he's consistent, then why doesn't Juan make himself available at 33% of market value or accept 33%?
I'm glad to do it. If they give me 33% of Sean Hannity's salary, I want the boss to know right now I'll take it.
Well, I can't win. No, but the point is that somebody else should subsidize you. That's the point.
Subsidize you. Imagine in America that we are caring about people who are low income.
Why, if I, let's say I invest.
I'll tell you why.
Wait a minute.
You don't want to drive down the street and have people attack you.
Hang on a second. I take a risk. Yeah. I buy some apartment buildings, okay? This is what you do for a living, Ray. You know economics. All right. I buy some apartment buildings, and I want to rent out the apartment buildings. Guy comes in and says, no, I can't afford that. The government tells me, no, you got to only charge what we say and what he can afford. So why should the government decide, if I want to rent the apartment for $3,000, why do I have to rent it for $800?
Well, because, you know what, it's not just government. It's government of the people, by the people, for the people. And obviously,
Bill Clinton would go nuts.
What you hear was that the people of New York City at some point said, you know what, these landlords are exploiting people. They're charging rents that are far too high to justify their profit.
Do you own apartments?
No,
well, see, that's the problem. We don't get rewarded for risk anymore in our society. That guy that owns the apartment's probably going to get sued about 8 times, spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on litigation, and we're going to have to give up free rent. No, that's baloney.
And what prevents me from quitting my job or not working a second job in order to make less money, and then my rent goes down because I can't afford it at the price it's at now because my income's gone down?
You know what? You are advocating pure, unadulterated socialism.
Socialism.
Yeah, you are empowering your government.
New York is a socialist government.
Honestly, dead on. It's Washington right now.
Oh, I see. I don't think so. I think that, you know what? We have limits on capitalism when it's too much, when people are being exploited.
You are empowering the government to literally force charitable donations from investors to people that want the convenience of living in a beautiful apartment. Wait a minute. I never thought that the government should subsidize or a landlord should subsidize me. Why can't people live where they can afford to live?
I think people should live. I think, and that was your point earlier, right? People should buy. And I don't think rating agencies should unfairly say to people, you can have this mortgage, when in fact they know they can't afford it, but the mortgage agency makes money off the deal, so they get complicit.
Listen, nobody wants to throw anybody out on the streets. Let's make that clear.
No.
But the fact of the matter is, when people are not paying their rent, it doesn't help them to keep them in there.
Of course not.
Wait a minute. All right. Back when I was starting out in my adult life, and I had to buy $200 cars and $300 cars, you know why? Because that's all I could afford.
Yeah.
You know what? Based on your theory, GM, Ford, Chrysler, wait a minute. The government should have forced them to give me the price that I wanted, that I could afford, so I can get the car that I would have liked.
This is a caricature of the argument. All I'm saying to you, Sean, you and I both started out, trying to hustle, trying to make a living. Nobody's subsidizing you or me. All I'm saying to you is in New York City, where the rents are very high, you know what? People can be exploited, and this was an attempt by the city council, the people of New York City, to stop it.
Nobody has a right. This is what's driving me crazy. Nobody has a right to live in somebody else's property or building. What Juan is advocating here, a total, complete repealing of property rights in America. Because
there's so much for the market. Exactly right. There's
low-income housing right now. The government subsidized that. They'll give us tax credits if we go out and buy low-income housing. So there's nothing wrong with that. That already exists.
I agree with you.
The
government helps you.
But that's my decision. If I want to buy a low-income housing apartment building, then I can do that.
Right.
But the government shouldn't tell you how much rent you should pay or how much you have to subsidize.
It's telling you how much money you can make. It's ridiculous.
And under Juan's plan, you'll never make a bucket of money. You won't even have a thumbnail full of money.
You think this guy's an idiot? This guy's making money. He wouldn't be in the business if he couldn't make money.
Well,
you think people don't make money on low-income subsidized housing?
I can tell you, I own some apartments in Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm not making money. There's a lot of risk.
All right, I have a line for you. If, rent is too damn high, liberals are too damn selfish.